Bambi had entered that club in downtown Atlanta as if she were entering a hostile environment. No glam squad, no pretending to grin for the cameras, wearing a black power suit, a slipped-back hair, and an icy gaze that chilled the whole room. The crowd was not rooting for shade on VH1's reunion stage. This was distinct. It was a personal matter. She took a seat in the middle of the vacant circular table. Her phone was pointing down in front of her in the VIP area, tapping her manicured nails on the wood while the faint din of the eatery outside bled dimly through the door. She wasn't looking for answers. She was present for clarity. She was leaving with more passion than she had entered if she didn't understand. The door opened a few minutes later, and Erica Dixon entered as if she were for a picture session. Pink bodycon dress, flawless hair. The warm overhead light caught the curled lip gloss. She didn't seem anxious. She didn't seem cautious at all. She seems prepared to triumph. They made no effort to say hi. Bambi gestured to the chair across from her and raised an eyebrow. Slowly crossing her knees, Erica slipped into it as if she wanted to enjoy every moment of her presence was felt. They merely gazed at one another for a long time. The months of unsaid accusations and camera-ready gloom had left them in quiet. Bambi then bent forward, her low-pitched yet glass-cuttingly keen voice. "So this is the part where you tell me you had no idea, right?" Erica had no knowledge blink. "No," she answered in a firm voice. "This is when you cease accusing me of being responsible for your husband's performance. You." The ensuing smile wasn't one that was intended for amity. The kind was brief and humorless, intended to make Bambi laugh. "Husband, my dear, he was more than simply my spouse." "Oh, you're our business partner," he said. "You believe that I didn't realize that when I was keeping the cameras down, you were cashing checks." Now Erica leaned closer and said softly, into that perilous silence, "Only women who have experienced war can handle it. Avoid flattering yourself. The side plot point was you. The actual one was me." The words hit like a slap. Even Bambi had to squint for a moment as the fire in her chest increased. She did not, however, reach across the table. Not quite yet. Rather, she dug inside her purse, took out her phone, and gave the screen a touch. The sound that permeated the atmosphere wasn't from a rumor or reunion recording. Log. It was new. Unmistakably raw and unpolished was Scrappy's voice. As Bam breaks down, smile for the cameras. It produces better television. The sound of his... The recording's laughter was enough to electrify the atmosphere and release stress. Erica's grin. After a brief moment of hesitation, she leaned back and reached into her own pocketbook. She remarked, "Cute," and unlocked her phone. "Want to hear mine?" Another recording was added to the table with a single swipe. This time, Bambi's voice was clearly irritated as she told someone, "Erica's foolish enough to think this is love. Let her play her role." It dawned on them both simultaneously. They may have been collecting each other's receipts for months, or even years, without being aware of it. However, neither of them was aware that this particular instance, their brief bombing exchange, wasn't going to remain in this room. Tucked discreetly in a corner a few feet away, pretending to be a member of the production team. Tasha K., holding a glass of wine, was on the other end of a young assistant's phone with the microphone live and on speaker. Real-time broadcasting of every word to a private list of her Patreon supporters. She had no intention of waiting till after the procedure. You served spicy in this kind of situation. Bambi narrowed her eyes and crossed her arms. "Do you find this amusing? Do you believe you can manipulate my marriage as if it were a plot point?" Erica's shiny grin reappeared as she cocked her head. "It was a narrative line, baby. Additionally, you were the prop rather than the producer." Now it was almost possible to see the heat between them, as if the air was pulsing. Their chairs sliding on the floor made a harsh, startling noise. They had stopped touching their water cups. The corner assistant sent a brief "It's going to happen" text Tasha K. First to stand, Bambi placed her hands on the table and leaned, so closely that Erica might detect a little hint of her scent. "Say my name one more time." "Bam!" she murmured, eliciting the word like a challenge. Erica didn't flinch. It was the precise instant when the tiny thread of patience broke. The floor scuffed against Bambi's chair as her jaw was clenched, her fingers curled. She skipped lunch, not quite yet. However, it seemed as if the room was tilting that way, as if the unsaid was the only thing separating them. Understanding that there would be no turning back once the first step was taken. Additionally, Tasha K was miles away. Looking at her wine glass, she smiled. Being aware that she had just had the first glimpse of the kind of storm that didn't simply consuming whole professions. Bambi breathed steadily and slowly, but her eyes were fixed on Erica Dixon as if she were assessing her prey. It was hardly a quiet moment between them. There was the kind of quiet that precedes glass breaks. Erica moved around in her seat, the little smile that never goes away lips, as if she were challenging Bambi to do something irrevocable. It's going to become violent. The assistant in the corner scribbled another brief message to Tasha K while keeping the phone open. Tasha was seated in her home office on the other end, forgetting her drink, leaning very close to the phone and brushing her locks. The desk. She was aware that her followers had been anticipating this moment. Bambi drew forward once again, her hands flat on knuckles widening on the table. For years, you've been grinning at me and speaking as if we were professional ladies, amidst the chaos. Erica remained still the whole time you were playing with him behind my back, just tapped, her glass with one finely manicured nail. Don't change the past. Bam. You were well aware of what it was. You were battling for time on camera. My family was what I was fighting for. Bambi chuckled softly and sharp. He is not your rescuer, family. He is the father of your kid. How about you? His cover was you. Until you came begging for crumbs, I was his future. Erica was surprised by how hard the word scraps struck. Her tone became cold as she straightened her posture. For someone who had to weep on national television in order to have a storyline, you speak with such bravery. Bambi grinned, but not in a funny way. It was risky. At least I did not wed him for a wage and sympathy. In an instant, the tension exploded. The water glasses rattled as Erica slapped her fist down on the table. Repeat that, she yelled. Bambi didn't repeat herself. Even terrible, she said. You were that man's greatest con artist. Life. And the fact that you are still able to pretend that you were unaware of it just serves to highlight how much more phony you are than the he wrote you checks. Erica's smile vanished as the words struck like open-handed slaps. Her chair tipped back with a mechanical scream on the floor as she suddenly sprang up. The helper paused, wide-eyed, as the atmosphere quickly changed from tense to frantic. As she moved around the table, Bambi shut the distance more quickly than the cameras could track. She reached out and grabbed Erica's hair in a fist, pulling her. Rear of the head. Erica made a sound that was half a curse and half a scream. Please don't touch me, she screamed. Bam! And grabbed Bambi's wrists. Bambi had a ferocious, venomous voice, from each and every syllable. I'll make sure you can't speak about my marriage at all if you bring it up again. One of the water cups fell to the floor and broke into sparkling fragments as the two ladies staggered against the table. Bambi was immediately on the move again, shoving Erica back against the wall with enough power to jar the picture frame as she thrust hard, breaking free. The assistant's phone briefly slid out of their grasp, causing the live broadcast to tremble as gasps erupted. On the other end of Tasha K's stream, her comment area was in disarray. Half the, "Let them fight," yelled the audience, and the other half writes, "Call security." Bambi was still in shock when the door crashed open and two security guards rushed in, grabbed her by the arms. "Tell them, Erica," they yelled over their shoulders. "Describe your sitting position to them." While I was defending him, he began counting deposits. Erica, who was breathing heavily now, shook her hair and brushed it down. "You're upset with me for surviving something you couldn't," she said, her hands shaking but her voice loud enough to be heard. "Handle. Don't be mean to me." Bambi attempted to escape the guards, her heels scuffing the ground. "This isn't over." "You think this is over?" Erica glared with a mixture of pride and rage as she fixed her outfit. "No. Bam. This is just the beginning." That one sentence struck, a chord in a room full with By the time Bambi was forced out the door by security, the assistant had already posted the video to a private account, folder, and delivered it to Tasha K in a matter of minutes. A modified version was sufficiently clear to avoid legal issues. The hashtags quickly appeared in group conversations and on the gossip blog DMS in an attempt to identify them. Charts to Erica, down, Bambi snaps. Sit down showdown. Although the video was brief, it was 30. Tay didn't even wait for her customary moment of turmoil, which included chairs clattering, glass smashing, and two women's voices cutting through the cacophony, like sirens. Editing, and when she posted the uncut video to her members-only page with the description, they responded, "I fabricate drama. They make my job too easy, I say." The comments section exploded. Bam was waiting for her to breathe incorrectly, but Erica swung first. VH1's crisis team was already in a locked situation, but this is better than the reunion. One executive threw their pen down as the tape continued to play in the meeting room. "We have to end the season if this becomes public knowledge, because else they could accuse one another." "Too late. Tasha's already got it," they said, shaking their head. "It will be all over by morning," but social media wasn't the most unsafe place to respond. Outside the club, in a peaceful SUV, was Scrappy, who had been instructed to avoid the meeting completely, had drove there nonetheless, and had seen Bambi being led away by security. Her face. He had seen Erica leave a few minutes later, head held high and phone pressed to her ear, her face hot and her mouth tensed. Was unaware that the assistant had been live-streaming the whole event, nor was he aware that Tasha K had the tape. However, his phone began to explode with text messages that said, "Check Patreon now." He was aware that he had been inside her vehicle. Bambi was already phoning her and she was officially gone. Attorney. Her tone was piercing and unflinching. "We're adding her name to the lawsuit. Once you're finished, please provide me the application for an injunction. I refuse to allow VH1 to broadcast that fight without my consent." Mendez, you were correct. Erica Dixon was on the phone across town, too, but she wasn't with a lawyer. "She's not come to speak. She's here to bury me," she muttered into the receiver. "I want to know whether you're still open to discussing what you told me last month, since nobody has as anticipated," Bambi believed. She was about to engage Erica in combat. Believed she was only protecting herself, but they had both forgotten the one law that governs their world. Every conflict has an audience, and in this instance, the audience was actively participating on both sides, rather than only observing. Bambi didn't sleep that night, and the person who was pulling the strings was already editing part 2. She had already determined that the conflict was legitimate, not because she was mentally reliving it, but rather because her phone calls from reporters she had never talked to were constantly ringing. Even a text from a previous cast member she hadn't talked to in years, and from blogs she didn't follow. "I saw the video, girl. You moved from being a popular topic to becoming the subject of a documentary." Her lawyer, however, sent the most important communication. Time-stamped 2:14 a.m. VH1 had already sold the footage with only one phrase. She sat up in bed, the room dark, pushing in. She kept thinking about that one statement. VH1 wasn't simply going to broadcast it. They intended to use it as the basis for a mid-season episode, which meant promotions, teasers, and response interviews, which indicated that the private altercation she had been duped into was going to be packaged for maximum financial gain. She paced in the low light, swinging her legs off the bed, breathing steadily. Yet there was no denying the burning in her chest, even if they believed she would allow them to spin it without her supervision. They would soon discover that she was the best player in the game. Across town, Erica Dixon, caught up in her own tornado, had again relived the instant Bambi seized her. The gossip bloggers had slowed down the video, analyzing each frame, not because she wanted to relive it. Some swore Bambi's lunge was spontaneous, while others said she pushed first. Half of the comments referred to Erica as the victim, while the other half called her the initiator. Although she had disabled most of her alerts, she was unable to block the call from Tasha K at sunrise. "Self." "Erica," Tasha murmured, her tone slippery with that perilous composure. You have yet to provide your perspective despite the fact that it is trending in 6 states." Erica paused. I'm unsure whether I want to give it food. Tasha laughed and said, Oh, sweetheart, it's already nourished. The only issue is, do you want the check or do you want to watch them eat without you? The problem with Tashashi was that she didn't only dangle drama. The profit was dangled by her. In spite of herself, Erica was paying attention. In the meanwhile, Scrappy had slept overnight at a friend's studio to get away from the media. And the escalating internet maelstrom. His phone was exploding with alerts from his team. Avoid posting, don't say anything, nothing even appeals to you. But he was unable to stop looking over the hashtags. More than 2 million people saw Bambi. Snaps. Erica was moving up the list of trends. Then came the one that made him feel sick to his stomach. They were put up by Scrappy. The story had changed somewhere. Individuals weren't only discussing the altercation. He was being accused of planning it. He was somewhat aware that they weren't completely incorrect. VH1 summoned an emergency production meeting around midday, but it was too hazardous to have it in Atlanta. To talk about damage management, they flew important executives and producers to New York. Leaked electronic mail were already making the rounds, one of which said that a producer had said to another, "They'll take care of the rest if we put them in the same room." The showrunner was smiling while PR was in a frenzy and legal was anxious. If you break it down into 3 sections, this is the highest mid-season engagement we have ever had. Before lunch, Bambi's attorney sent a Candace, but it was disregarded. Milk it. The network quickly produced a 30-second promo clip showing Bambi smashing her palm on the table within hours. The caption shows Erica getting to her feet, glass breaking, and a producer's voice yelling, "Security." The comments went crazy when they read, "You thought the reunion was wild? You haven't seen anything yet? Is this the battle?" They're really broadcasting it. Bam! On the verge of force them to file for bankruptcy. Bambi was slipping a thick cloth in her lawyer's office as the internet went into overdrive. Across the desk is a manila envelope. All of my emails, texts, and production notes from the previous 3 seasons. Look at the ones where I was instructed to sit with her. Locate the ones I was informed that it was off camera. This has to be airtight. The attorney gave a nod, paging through the documents. They won't simply settle if this is what I believe it to be. They will bleed. However, there were other wars in the making. Erica had accepted the call from Tasha K and had a meeting. With their phones turned off, they conversed while seated, in the rear of a peaceful eatery. Low. Tasha responded, "I've got more," as she slipped her iPad off the table. The fresh video that wasn't from the lounge but rather from weeks before showed Scrappy and a VH1 producer discussing keeping Bam in the gloomy till mid-season, when we wrap. Although the audio wasn't flawless, it was sufficient to imply that the network had been aware of it. The arrangement. Erica's lips parted as she raised her head from the television. "What you're saying? Did they want us to fight?" Tasha grinned. "They also needed you, I'm saying." The weight of it became apparent. It wouldn't only hit Bambio if she released that tape to the public. It would also hit VH1. And it meant publicly allying herself with Tasha, even if it may make her seem like the larger victim. It was a risk, but a risk that may change the course of history. Late in the afternoon, Bambi finally spoke up about Instagram. A video showing her entering the Fulton County Courthouse in a red power suit with no explanation or subtitles, a stack of documents in her palm, a suit, and big sunglasses. A sample from a song that has become a hit song on the soundtrack Retaliatory Meme. Instantly, the comments blazed. She is suing all of them. Bam. Preparing to terminate careers. Blood is a red outfit. Not to be outdone, Erica went live that evening. She was sitting in her living room, composed and sipping a cup of tea. Starting with, "I'm not here to argue," she said. She said, "I'm here to tell the truth." She framed herself as someone trapped in a web she didn't create, slowly and deliberately. But just as the comments began to tilt in her favor, Bambi shared a blurry legal paper on Instagram stories for 3 seconds. The plaintiff Bambi's statements, Erica Dixon, the defendant, and Richardson, are hardly seen. There was a reason behind the timing. Then followed the unexpected turn of events. Mendez has not spoken yet, displayed a white letter on a dark screen. "You may not always know who you really are. adversary is till the battle is ended. He didn't include a tag, but the remarks didn't need him to. There was a flurry of theories. Was Yandi in his mind? Was he, implying that he was more familiar with the lounge arrangement? Furthermore, why had he been seen twice? In the same courtroom, days earlier. Where was Bambi's lawsuit filed? By midnight, the altercation wasn't limited to Bambi and no longer Erica. It was attracting ex-partners, connections between producers and the whole cast. Additionally, Tasha's Home Office K was making changes to what she had said would be the most explosive drop to date, as she teased the video with the following caption. The improper thing caused the fight. The story will be released on Friday. In the realm of closure isn't genuine on reality TV. There's the next headline, the next smash, the subsequent treachery. Additionally, when the sun rose. One thing over Atlanta the next morning was sure. Whatever Erica and Bambi believed they had taken up residence in the lounge, it was only the start of a major conflict. Enough to set the whole set on fire. Make money, the whole set down.